evolving digital landscape, for your business to thrive, you must adapt or die. Welcome to Marketing in the Age of AI, the podcast helping you harness the power of AI and marketing tools to revitalize and grow your business. And now here's your host, marketing expert and author of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI, Emmanuel Rose.
Well, thanks for joining me again for Marketing in the Age of AI. Today, we get to have a conversation about security, and instead of general cybersecurity, we're going to talk about how we can keep our own life more secure. And welcome to the show, Eli Farhood. Thanks for joining.
Hi, Emmanuel. Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
Absolutely. Can you give us a little bit of a story about your background?
Yeah, for sure. I spent more than 20 years in financial services and finance. I ended my career there as a portfolio manager before I shifted and pivoted to technology, which was always my passion, because I believe technology is a great gateway for us to reinvent ourselves and make our life easier, more streamlined and efficient. And it's providing every other day. There's a new technology coming out, and it's providing so much value for everyone. It has such a ripple effect all over. So it's been a passion, and now I'm very happy that I'm not working anymore. It's fun. It's something fun that I would do 24/7. I'm happy with it.
Well, then you truly are not working, but you're doing something valuable at that point, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, the way it really started is when I became an identity theft victim. It happened twice to me, and last year was one of the ones where I was a fraud victim. I had thousands of dollars on my cards. I still show my friends, they can't believe it, that it's happening. And this is where actually the problem lies, I believe. A lot of people think it's okay if you lose your personal information, and they think that the problem is not as big as it is or as it's portrayed by some experts. But the fact is, it is really big. And when you become a victim, unless you go through the struggle financially, on the legal front, emotionally, there's also stress there. Unless you go through that experience like I did, and many of course did, you don't really appreciate the fact that you've never been a victim, or you don't understand the severity of having your information compromised. And some people will think like, I'm not Elon Musk, why would people care about my personal information? But that's not the right approach. That's not how you should be looking at this.
Yeah, I think, and we've seen in the last probably just 6 weeks some massive breaches of very personal data, all the way to Social Security Administration.
3 billion people.
Yeah. So we know that it's at this point it's a 1 in 3 that we have had our security leaked out into the dark web. So multi-factor authentication is not enough at this point, I would imagine.
Unfortunately, like many other solutions out there, multi-factor is not enough. It's definitely better than a password alone. Let's
Right.
just acknowledge that. But it's not enough because it is dependent on a device, and in a lot of cases, when your device is compromised, hackers have a backdoor to everything in your life.
Mhm.
And they can bypass two-factor authentication. They can steal your passwords from your keychain if you're using an iPhone or any other system
Yep.
that has similar, product. They can bypass Face ID. They can steal your private keys. They can access your Google Authenticator. This is how we thought about securing our lives when we started building Catch. Is that in the most severe case, even if your device is compromised, we wanted some sort of security. We wanted to have a security where our identity is not dependent on a device, which is the riskiest assumption here.
Well, that's interesting. So then I would just walk us through, like, you're talking to a 10-year-old about how the software cache helps to keep us safe.
Yeah, it's really easy. It's just an advanced biometric system, that can use your hand or your palm, to be more specific, as a password. And once we're able to achieve that level of security by eliminating credentials, okay, as a consumer, you really should be happy here. You're not dealing with multi-factor authentication anymore. You're not dealing with passwords. You're not managing credentials anymore. You're not, trying to safeguard those credentials, maybe put in a Northern virus or whatever, something to catch fraudsters trying to break into your system. And we're giving you a streamlined experience where you just point your hand to any smart device. It could be an iPad, it could be a laptop, it could be a smart device. Any smart device equipped with a camera is enough for us
Yeah.
to have you identify who you are. And if I want to walk you through like a very simple example, you launch your bank app, you scan your hand for 2 seconds, and you're in. There's nothing else you need to do.
And so you mentioned that right now hackers can bypass Face ID. Why is it that you're not able to face the hand ID in a similar situation?
That's a great question because today Face ID is not available on any other device. It's only on an iPhone. Apple cannot ask its users to stop using passwords because what if I want to access my account elsewhere, right? So they
Right.
still enable passwords. That's why. Another reason also because the Face ID is device dependent. So if the device is compromised, we go back to that root question. What do? They can bypass that. We wanted to take a different approach. We're connecting your identity to your biological hand, where only your hand can unlock it. And so it's not device dependent, and that's why we don't worry anymore that our device can be compromised.
And then what about to the people that say that are concerned about having biometrics connected to a service, and then afraid that the government's going to know all about them, and that sort of thing? What do you say to those people?
So we know that convenience is a strong value proposition for everyone, to be honest. Like I've tried to access my TikTok account the other day, and I had only 15 seconds to grab that code, and it was supposed to reach on my email. I tried that 5 times, Emmanuel, and I couldn't really because there was a lag in the email,
Of
reaching that
course.
code,
Yeah.
and I had to try and try and try. I mean, honestly, if someone with just, I would say, an average brain believe this is a solution, I think we're having a big problem here. Yeah, no, we think that security and convenience should be coupled together so that people adopt it. People are not, People have high expectations. They want technology to solve their problem and make their life easier. If it cannot achieve both, I think at the end of the day, those tools people are pushing back day and night against those tools, and we will have less or more vulnerability in our systems because people are just not going to do that. If you tell me to do 5, 7 steps just to secure my account, I don't want to use that security. I'm okay being vulnerable. Let's put it this way: it's a fast-paced environment. People want easy and secure together.
Yeah, that's true. And the multi-factor, like you're describing it, like it ends up you have to have this open and this other thing open, and then they have to, like you're saying, have to speak to each other or get to you in time, and it doesn't always work. It can be frustrating. I've even experienced it where I ask for a text on record for the phone number on record, then it loops me around to say, well, what phone number should be the phone number on record? Like that's a system with a terrible gap in it.
There's another element going back to your question, like what do people do if their biometric is stolen, right?
Yeah.
So the beauty about what we have built is that it is not dependent on the security of that biometric because there are three elements. I mean, people can visit our site. I don't maybe have enough time to tell you about it here,
Sure.
technically speaking, but
Yeah.
they can visit our website and learn more. We have plenty of information there so that any questions they may have will be answered, and they can reach out to me personally, add me to LinkedIn. I'm happy to also engage with any interested party just to tell them more about what we have built and the value that it can provide. But the fact that it is not dependent on the security of your information. Like, think about that. Today, this is how it happened to me. In 2015, I had an identity fraud incident where someone collected my information and and called my bank and provided that information. So basically, he was claiming my identity,
Right.
and he was successful in accessing my checking account. So when we sat down with my team and thought, how can we solve this problem? The first thing that came to mind from a strategic perspective, okay, we need to authorize who can use your information. That's the first deal. Like, it doesn't work elsewhere. Because if you look at history, it shows you very, very obviously that you can't protect information. I mean, Microsoft is getting hacked. It's $1 trillion company.
Yeah.
If Microsoft is hacked, then what am I? I'm going to be hacked as well. So the point here is you need to authorize every time you need your personal information, who can use it. This is, in our view, the simplest, most basic concept to fight identity fraud. And that's why we built Catch, to solve it this way. You authorize, when you scan your hand, it's like a consent. Let's say I want to open a bank account. The bank won't be able to open that account for me unless he get that consent from my hand scan. And then that will provide him authorization to use my information for this purpose, for on that day, in that location, period. Every time you need it, you got to scan and provide that consent. It works like a background check, if that helps you, get.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So then, how do we conceptualize how that our the image of our hand cannot be then spoofed and used in place of me?
Absolutely, because people today use passwords and they're okay with it, because if it's stolen, they can change it, but they can't change the biometric if it's stolen, right? This is the very core question.
Yeah.
We've built it to be as secure so that it is not dependent on the security of your biometric itself, because we engage with three elements. There's AI, which is a hackable component. There's human detection. This is the core technology that we've built. And there's a dynamic signature. So that signature, I would compare this like to a multi-factor authentication, but the biometric version of it.
Okay.
And that signature pretty much seals the whole transactions, like the parties involved, the date and time, location, the purpose of the transaction, right?
Okay. Yep.
And all it's sealed in that random signature. So it's a dynamic signature, meaning it's different every time.
Yep.
And we've made it this way so that if it's compromised, hackers can't use it anymore. It's been used,
Gotcha.
That's,
you're starting to flirt a little bit with blockchain at that level too, right?
that is so true. That is so true. We use blockchain, and we're creating our own version of it that has a security stop, because there's another problem with blockchain is called a private key. Today, if someone compromises your private key, they can see your digital assets.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. So we came up with our own version that has a biometric stop, and therefore you can't use my private key anymore unless I provide that scan on my hand. Yeah.
Yeah. So then it's kind of like a combination of a DocuSign envelope and a blockchain, and then a thumbprint, if I'm going to just make it simple enough for my brain to understand it.
Yes, it's well said. I would say it's well said. Unfortunately, DocuSign, we believe their security is pretty average. But yeah, if you want to get the notion, that makes sense.
And so you've layered on kind of best practices of these variety of, I would say, disparate entities, and brought it together into one product.
100%. But on top of that, we also noticed, and we researched with consumers and potential customers, they have a problem. It's kind of like a psychological problem. Like, people cannot give up their biometric and feel complacent about it, right?
Right. Yep.
So we thought of using blockchain here particularly and spread out. So first, when you scan your hand, we don't keep your hand image or information. We transform that into a token.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And that token, so basically you become like a function. The constant that represents who you are becomes like a function. And that function is like about a few kilobytes. We spread that like a puzzle. over
Right.
8 different locations using blockchain
A
technology.
type of encryption, even,
Right.
right?
And so it's kind of like every time we need to get that constant, we reassemble it from 8 different locations. So we did it so much complicated under the hood to protect people and their biometrics and kind of alleviate that psychological, barrier, which could be there. Like, I don't want to give up my biometric. Like, why should I trust you with your biometric? What if
Sure.
someone compromises your servers? So no, this time the fraudsters have to compromise 8 different locations and know our keys to unlock them all together. And yeah, it's just too hard for them, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah. So you've got these multiple layers with multiple factors on multiple layers. So it's unlikely to be penetrated at that level.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's amazing. So you guys have been running this since, was it 2019 was when you started?
2020 officially, if you want.
Okay. Yeah, that's amazing. And then
It was with the start of COVID. We were
oh
like
yeah.
focusing so much on this. People were like, okay, COVID, perfect. Let's focus. Let's do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, we didn't have a lot other to do but work and play golf at that point. everything else was illegal. So what sort of marketing campaigns have you released in the last 3 or 4 years that you could tell us about?
We've had a spike in demand from B2B customers. So we have several LOIs in place right now, agreements,
Yep.
signed agreements. And we've launched our crowdfunding campaign to also gauge the interest from end consumers. We want to know both ends of the market. Okay, we know businesses want that. We know it solves them the problem of credential management, which is costly in time and money, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, it streamlines their business operations, which is also a great help. Like, let me give you some examples. 40% of help desk calls at enterprise is related to passwords.
Wow.
Just to give you an idea,
That's amazing.
it costs $70 to reset a password on
Right.
an enterprise level.
Yeah.
So you've got those numbers, like it's such a strong pain. But then we thought about ourselves that that's not enough. Let's see how is the appetite of end consumers. What can we do about that? Okay, let's see if people will vote with their credit cards. Let's launch a crowdfunding campaign and see if people want to use this product. They want to invest in it. They want to be part of this movement. And luckily now we have a strong traction. We've launched it about 8 weeks ago. And so we're trying to gauge again the interest through that launch to see if consumers have any barrier that we're not aware of.
Yeah. That's amazing on the business side. So I didn't even think about it as like a solution that could replace OnePass or something like that and be way more secure, right?
OnePass is, again, the mission of OnePass, and the greatest value I think is that it streamlines things. It removes the friction.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we've learned in recent weeks there was an incident where it was hacked. So it's a better security, but it's still not the security level that we have envisioned ourselves. When we started building Catch, I've been told this, like, are you like selling this to the CIA? Like, this sounds like so complicated. Like, this sounds like very advanced. Like, who's your customer? Is the CIA your customer?
Yeah.
But no, the thing is that we think, and we've seen it. I mean, there was someone, I think a CFO assistant wired $25 million
Yeah.
at a Hong Kong-based company, right?
Yep.
For
I remember that
deepfake
one.
video over a Zoom call.
Yes. Brutal.
Right. This gives you an idea that fraudsters now are very sophisticated.
Absolutely.
And the reason why they're getting even more sophisticated than ever, AI. While AI was a boon for a lot of industries, now it's being used as a great tool for scammers.
Sure.
To replicate, duplicate, whichever they want to do or know about, and wreak havoc in our financial life. And so now you're dealing with a sophisticated scammer. This is not 30 years ago where they just steal your mail from the mailbox and use your social security if they happen to have access to it.
Yep.
Or maybe you dropped your wallet somewhere. No, this is a honeypot theft, like the 3 billion people who were compromised a week ago, where they have access to so much information most of our sensitive information, they can use it to hack our devices and accounts. And now they can leverage AI. So this is why I think we're at this point in time where we need to really be up to it and provide a really strong security to protect ourselves.
Yeah, I would agree with that statement, and I think you have a very visionary and innovative product, and I appreciate the work that you're doing on behalf of all of us because of that.
Thank you, Manuel. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I love the layers and the thought into protecting assets and also protecting the privacy of our identity from the fraudsters and from the government.
Well, the reason why we thought about the hand is because also it does not discriminate. So the problem with facial recognition, we had several examples. We've actually had it in our lab tests. It does actually discriminate against some races and people of color. And the beauty about the hand is not just that it's private, it is a voluntary biometric. So here's an example. You can be walking down the streets and cameras are capturing your face.
Sure.
But they can't capture your hand. So there are like several elements where the hand really is an interesting biometric. And I mean, people love to use it. We've surveyed 300 people in the LA area, and most people say they love the hand over the face as a biometric.
I love it. Well, I'm excited to see where you're able to take this, and I'd love to have you back on the show sometime in the spring and see how the product's developed and what's next for you guys.
Absolutely, we're launching actually in 2 months our MVP, putting it in the hands of clients. So we're very excited about that, and we're engaging now with the Founders University. It's a program in Silicon Valley associated with Jason Calacanis, and so we're very excited that we're going to get there and have our product in the hands of clients and see the feedback and tweak on the product. We're not done yet. We're just starting, in fact.
All right, I love it, Eli. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Make sure that your contact information is in the show notes, and we'll make sure people are able to get in and find you and Catch ID.
Thank you very much again, Emmanuel, for having me. And it was a pleasure to, talk about Catch to your audience. And I'm happy to respond on LinkedIn. Please add me up there. Love to engage. And if you have any question, let me know.
All right. Well, thanks. Go enjoy the beach, will you? Have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Marketing in the Age of AI. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Your copy of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI is available at Amazon.com or EmmanuelRose.com. You can also connect with Emmanuel on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.